privileged, in fact, to meet one of the best teachers of U.S.A.
I want to tell your students, I was like, the first thing I want to tell them is that when you get older, students, can you hear me? You get older, one day you will appreciate that you have been taught by one of the greatest teachers in the world, in the whole world. Is this man is amazing. And I know that so young now, you probably cannot appreciate him as much as you will one day because he will push you and he will introduce you to things that students around the world do not get introduced to. So you are very, very fortunate to have this man as your teacher. You're very blessed.
Thank you.
I come from a very poor family. When I was young, we didn't have running water, and when I got older, we didn't have cold water. And so I grew up on a farm, and a lot of people didn't have hopes or dreams when they grow up like that. But I found that education can provide that, and I was very fortunate that my teachers cared about me, and that they thought a lot of me, and they pushed me. And I left Florida. I married a woman and I moved to California. And so we've been married for 39 years. But she believed in me as well and she kept pushing me. And so she allowed me to go back to college. I failed twice. So I wanted to say that to you. So I had to drop out of college two times because I couldn't afford it. My family is really poor. And I kept trying to go back. And it wasn't because I was a bad student. It was because we couldn't afford the education. It's very expensive in the United States. But my wife believed in me. She had me go back. And I became a teacher. And I taught for 22 years. And thousands of my students have gone to college. And they have changed their lives and the lives of their families because the school that I taught in was the poorest school, the lowest income school in all of Northern California. So my students come from, their family spoke 23 languages at home. So when they came to my class, they were very diverse. I had students from all over the world. And so I learned to appreciate their cultures. And I think I'm the luckiest person in the world. But I became the teacher of the year for California. Which it was very, very challenging. It was a 2 year process, and I represented 400,000 teachers. And I got to meet the president. So I show you. Here's a President Obama. See, there we go. Got to see President Obama. And then I got to the President Biden, his wife. I have a picture with her. So I got to have dinner at their house. And I got to speak to them. And so here's this poor kid from the farm that didn't have running water is meeting the president and having dinner at the vice president's house. I mean, so believe in yourself. You have a teacher that can show you the way, but you have to believe in yourself. And if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, you can. It doesn't mean you won't fail, but you pick yourself up and you go the next time. So I became a teacher when I was 39 years old. 39. One of the things, and you asked me to talk about like my teaching. Some students would say in my class, Mr. Smith, your class is very easy. I want to take you next year. I heard it was easy. I said, my class is not easy. I'm a very rigorous teacher. I give lots of very challenging assignments. The students think it's easy is because I care about them. I care about each one and I believe in them. And that's something that is very, very difficult as a teacher to do every day is to continually let the students know you believe in them. And I know that your teacher here, it takes a lot of energy for you to believe in your kids and to push them. So I am very proud of you, and I'm very proud of the students that are here. I know some of the things that you go through, and perhaps I don't know the new school as much as your other school that you are at, but I know that your teacher works hard to provide for you. And I know you got a new English lab.
Yes.
So
My name is Ashwin Kumar. I'm studying sixth class. My school name is ZPHS School in Penimaka. Can I ask you a question, sir?
yes, let me turn my volume up. Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yes, you may.
My question is, what made you choose biology and maths as your subject, and how do you make interesting for students?
So, because I started teaching here, I have my notes. Let me grab my notes. Because I started teaching very late in life, I worked out in the real world and I got to see how things happen. I got to see how people had challenges with math and biology. And since I grew up on a farm, I got to see the way that my family worked with the animals and the decisions that they make are very important. If you have too many animals but you can't afford to feed them, then they starve. But yet if you have too few animals, then you don't generate enough money to keep your farm going and you end up having to sell your farm. And so a lot of those real life experiences that I have for my own family and that I saw for other families influenced the way that I taught. So I love math, but I was very jealous of the biology teachers and the physics teachers because they got to take the things that I taught and apply them to real world. Um, just 2 weeks ago, I worked with a student who is growing algae. You know what algae is? Like the green plants in an aquarium, and he was trying to grow things in an aquarium, like a fish aquarium, and he was using different methods for growing things, different food to feed the vegetation in the aquarium to see which one worked best. Um, and he's actually from India. So my student, yes. And so, but in anyway, I he was using mathematics and he was using biology to determine what was the best food to feed this algae, this vegetation. Another one of my students at our school, we are allowed to grow fish. And one of the things that they determined was what was the temperature of the water that where the most fish eggs hatched. Do you understand? Am I speaking okay? Use mathematics to study this. Um, in real life, we need to know when the chance of something is going to happen. And so we can apply that across to biology. At our school, we have agriculture and we have biology. We have physics. And so our students use the math that I teach to determine how their experiments are going to come out. What should they expect from their experiments? Good morning.
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
My name is Shan Basha. I'm studying 6th class. My school name is ZPHS Penumaka. Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yes, you may.
What is your proudest achievement as a teacher, and how did it impact your students?
So many of my students were the first to graduate from school and they went to college and they changed their family. So their parents never had to worry about food or health, like going to doctors anymore because those students went to college and they became pharmacists, doctors, nurses, teachers. Those are many of my proud moments. Um, but sometimes I have students that don't look like they would succeed. They have already given up. And when I can take and inspire those students and help them to believe in themselves, those are my proudest moments. Um, I think I think being selected as a teacher of the year, and then the same time that your teacher became a global teacher of the year, I was selected for a teacher hall of fame, which is in the United States is it's one of our top honors. And I was very proud of that moment because my students were around me when that was announced. So they see that I can become something and that they can become something. They know that I'm just like them. I'm not special. And I know your teacher will tell you that he's not special either. He just believes in you. And so those are my when my students succeed, I'm invited to their weddings. I'm invited to their college graduations. Um, those are very proud moments when I'm accepted into their family and I see them succeed.
Good evening, sir. My name is Manataj. I am studying 6th class. My school name is ZPHS Padmaka. Can I ask a question, sir?
Yes, you may. Good morning.
My question. Good evening, sir. What advice would you give to students who want to build a career in biology, science, and maths? Question on achievements.
Well, things have changed recently in your lifetime. So now students that would like to go into science or biology um, should really know computers. You should know lots of mathematics. Um, Many of the things in biology, the experiments that you do, will be done by computers and artificial intelligence. Have you heard of artificial intelligence before? AI?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So every career now should have those classes. You should study those. And the person that will be best in biology will understand mathematics and they will understand computers and AI. So it's changing. And by the time that you graduate from high school, it will have changed a lot more. So what I say may not be accurate. You may need something else. But make sure that you study mathematics and make sure that you learn computers so that you understand, because that's the part that's going to change a lot.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Sir,
Good morning.
my name is Ziad. I am studying 6th class.
Hello.
My question. Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yes, you may.
How do you connect biology and maths topics to real life situations so students understand them better?
So, my students love to go outside. They love to see so when we go outside, we measure the trees using different methods. I have my students put together experiments in a math class. They do studies and they have to collect information about the other people or trees or buildings. They have to come up with the experiment themselves, and they have to decide how to what questions to ask. And so when we start asking those questions about things in real world, then the mathematics comes out of that. You can't answer those questions unless you know mathematics or you know about biology. And the teachers that I work with at my school um, that teach biology, I teach math, that we work together to come up with lessons that our students they grow tomatoes. You know what a tomato is? So we run experiments on how to grow the best tomato or how to hatch the most fish eggs. So when we work together with each other, the students see that math is the language that you need to speak in order to be able to do biology. So, so one of the things that I always say is, for you, is ask why. Why? In everything. And in mathematics, ask why. In biology, ask why. And if you, that always leads to the next question.
Good evening, sir. My name is Neha. I am studying 6th class. My school name is VZPHS of Denmark. Can you ask a question, sir?
Yes, and good morning.
Can you share one exciting classroom activity or experiment that your students really enjoy?
One of the things that we like to do in our class is my math class. I teach geometry, and do you know what geometry is?
Yes, yes.
Yes. And so at the end of the year, the students have to pick a great building somewhere in the whole world, um, and they have to be able to draw it accurately using only the tools that we use in geometry: a ruler, a protractor, a compass, a straight edge, and they have to be able to draw it. And we spend several weeks drawing this on uh, big paper, And at the end of it, we have, and some students say, I cannot draw, Mr. Smith. And I'm not asking you to draw. I'm asking you to use mathematics to replicate this building or this bridge. Um, and they do a wonderful job. And then at the end of the 2 weeks that we allocate for this project, we have an art show in our classroom. We turn our classroom into an art museum, and the parents are invited to come see what our students have done. So my students really, really enjoy it. It seems to be one of the greatest activities of their year. Um, but I also try to get my students outside to do activities all the time. But that one is the biggest by far.
What are the qualities that you suggest a teacher should have, whether it is a biology or math or any other subject teacher? What qualities
So
you think?
yeah, students, you hear me? I can teach anything. I can teach astronomy, I can teach Japanese, I can teach any language, I can teach any subject. Why? Because I care. I care about you. I will go home and I will work. I will work harder than you. I will work all night to learn whatever the subject is. If you told me tomorrow I have to teach Japanese, I will go home tonight and I will study Japanese, and I will always stay one step ahead of you. At least I will be good enough to teach you. I will be worthy. And you can ask my wife. In 2023, they asked me to teach the hardest math class, calculus. I never taught it. It was an emergency. And every night, I stayed up till midnight, every night to do the problems, to work hard. So the quality, yes. So if you want to do it, students, if you want to succeed, you study harder than everybody else. You have to stay ahead of the person that is grading you. You have to impress them. I know that sleep is important, but if you want to succeed, um, and that's the quality of a teacher. You believe in the students, and you believe that, and you have to do better than they will do, than they will ask. So can I share something with you? So in the United States, we have to prepare if someone comes into our classroom to harm our students. So we have a drill. We have to practice. The students have to hide. Do they have to do that in your school? Do we?
Yes, we do have such things.
So a teacher would stand between the students and any harm that would come to the students. Yes?
Yes, yes, yes. You're right.
Then every teacher, if you are willing to do that, if you're willing to risk your life, to give your life for your students, shouldn't you approach the preparing your lessons the same way? Shouldn't you it's very difficult, but every day in the classroom you have to recognize that. You would give your life for your students, so why don't you plan your lessons, and why don't you teach your lessons as if you were giving your life? Because that's exactly what your teacher is doing. Every day, your teacher is giving his life to you. He has only one life, and he's giving it to you every day. That's what makes a good teacher.
Thank you so much, Tim. And before we close this session, before we end this session, may I request you to give a final message to my students?
I still say you are so lucky, students. Appreciate him and hold him accountable. Hold your teacher accountable. Make sure that if you are getting bored, you tell your teacher, I am getting bored. You don't have to shout it out in class, but you come to him afterwards and say, let's do this. Your teacher loves you. And so he's willing to do whatever to inspire you, to make you the best. And you give it right back to him. And you're growing. And so you make mistakes, and some days that you feel different than you did the day before, and you have things that you have at home that may cause you to not want to learn. But you come to your class, it's a safe place. Can I tell you a story?
Please, please, please tell me.
So one of my students was sleepy in class, and I asked him why he was sleepy, and he said that he had no mother. and that his father was in the hospital, and that every day after school he would go to the hospital and spend all night with his father. And so he was excited because his father was coming home from the hospital. And so he told me he was going to miss that day. And I was like, that's okay. I will catch you up. And so then he came in the next day and to class after getting his father out of the hospital. And he was sitting in my class and he was doing his work. And I said, how is your father? And he said, my father died on the way home from the hospital. And I said, but you are in class today. And he said, Mr. Smith, this is where I feel safe. This is where I want to be. So it was really tragic, but it told me how much that he meant to be in my class and how important it was for me to treat you and try to understand. I don't judge you. I don't, because I don't know what went through your head or what happened in your house last night. But I know you are with me today, and I want you to learn and to feel safe and to feel like you can do anything.